Many believe that in the age of information technology, the book is losing its significance, but before, it was the only way to transfer knowledge through generations. The most ancient books for historians are simply priceless. In this video, I will show you the most ancient books and other archaeological finds that will amaze you. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. Divine Bull Apis. Egyptian mummy of the divine bull Apis, late Ptolemaic period 300 BC 400 AD, discovered in Dashur, Lower Egypt, exhibited in the Smithsonian Museum. The mummy is covered with at least 9 layers of bandages, so its study was carried out using X-rays. The pictures show that under the dense tissue, there are only bones. Scientists believe that the meat was eaten for ritual purposes by priests or kings in order to join the divine power. Only the head of the bull was embalmed, so that he could see and hear forever. This bull was kept in a special stable within the walls of the temple. The priests massaged his body, decorated with his horns with silver ornaments, and even sang to him. The bull was seen as a living manifestation of God, so the Egyptians literally revered him during his lifetime. It was believed that after death, the sacred animal gained eternal life. The priests gave the bull a magnificent funeral and placed the body in an underground niche, and a young bull with the same distinctive marks took its place. Ostromir Gospel. The most ancient book of Russia is the Ostromir Gospel. It was written in 1056-1057 for the Novgorod head of the city Ostromir by Deacon Gregory. The unique manuscript is decorated with initials and miniatures. In addition, the book is important because the deacon in the afterword indicated the date of its writing from the creation of the world. The Ostromir Gospel became the model from which scientists started when creating modern grammars of the Old Church Slavonic language. Today, the book is stored in the Russian National Library of St. Petersburg. The Secret of Joanna Southcott's Chest. Until the age of 42, Joanna Southcott lived inconspicuously. She did not have a husband and children. She worked as a servant for almost her entire adult life. She was fired from her job after a complaint from the head butler. He complained to the owners that Joanna had gone mad. It was his revenge for her rejection of him. On the other hand, the characterization of the butler is similar to the truth, because in 1792, 42-year-old Joanna began to compose rhyming prophecies about the end of the world. She also declared herself to be the woman clothed with the sun. Joanna prophesied so much and rhymed so deftly that she had admirers. Basically, they were the same old maids who, having heard a lot of apocalyptic tales, rejoiced that all the wicked would soon go to hell and they of course would ascend to heaven. It is believed that over 2 decades of inventing prophecies, the number of followers of Southcottism has reached 100,000. In 1814, Joanna, who had repeatedly promised the imminent end of the world, announced her latest trick, the Immaculate Conception. 64-year-old Southcott, with a rounded belly, announced that she was pregnant and would give birth to a new Messiah on October 19, 1814. The London newspapers ridiculed her, some followers turned their back on her, but both of them were waiting for the announced day. Nothing happened on October 19th. The congregation was told that the Messiah ascended to heaven immediately after birth, and Southcott fell into a trance. Without regaining consciousness, she died in September 1814. It turned out that the stomach appeared as a result of a tumor which led to death. Joanna Southcott left behind the prophecy books and the mystery box. Southcott told to open this box when the world gets really bad. It supposedly contains something that will save the world from all that is bad. For the first time, Southcott's followers wanted to open the chest during the Crimean War, then at the height of the First World War, and then in the worst years of the Second World War. However, they never succeeded. Southcott bequeathed to open opened the box in the presence of 24 Anglican priests who should study Southcott's writings and spend several days discussing them together. So even in the 1940s, there were no priests who would agree to do such nonsense for the sake of saving the vault. In 1927, debunker of mediums and other groups Harry Prince got hold of Southcott's chest. Previously, he interviewed some physics about the contents of the book and then opened it. None of the physics guessed what was inside, and inside, they found all sorts of rubbish like a lottery ticket, a nightcap, jewelry, dice. However, Southcott's followers stated that the real chest was not opened and the prince is a deceiver. Until recently, there were several organizations, churches, each claiming to be the successor to Joanna Southcott. Today, there is hardly anyone who seriously believes in the prophecies of an old maid who lived 200 years ago. One of those churches turned into the Southcott Museum, where the same mysterious box is still kept. Book of the Dead. The mystical Book of the Dead is often featured in adventure films, but its original title is Chapters on Coming Out into the Light of Day. The book is a collection of papyruses with ancient Egyptian prayers, spells that were supposed to help the deceased to move to another world. The name Book of the Dead was given by the Egyptologist Lepsius. The book was created in the period from the 6th to the 1st centuries BC. Face of the Egyptian Queen Hatshepsut. And how do you like such a strictly scientific reconstruction? Archaeologists collect the face of the Egyptian Queen Hatshepsut from fragments that have just been removed from the earth. After 3,500 years, the eyes of the broken Sphinx look at us again. An archaeological mission excavating Hatshepsut's famous temple at Deir el-Bahari, Luxor, is working to restore a Sphinx figure that once adorned the procession road. At the beginning of the 15th century BC, along the road leading to the temple, there were more than 70 such figures. The lion's body was combined with a human head, which the sculptor gave a resemblance to the face of the queen. Alice, Pharaoh Thutmose III, who replaced Hatshepsut, tried to destroy all memory of his stepmother, and his descendants completed what they had begun. The sculptures of the queen were broken and buried. Paradoxically, the burial of the statues made it possible to better preserve the paint that covered the sculptures, because the sphinxes were once painted. The yellowish-reddish complexion of the sphinx is noteworthy. According to the canon, female images were painted yellow. Gospels of Garima. In the monastery of Saint Garima, Ethiopia, 2 Gospels are kept, created in the period from 330 to 650 years. They are written in Ge'ez, the sacred language of Abyssinia. The Gospels were discovered by art historian Beatrice Plain in 1950. The books are designed in the same style but written in different handwriting. The first Gospel has a binding of wooden planks covered with gilded copper, while the binding of the second is made of silver. Unfortunately, the books are not subject to restoration, and they are all preserved in the same monastery. Pharaoh's Meteor Throne. Giulio Mali, director of the Faculty of Mathematics at the Politecnico di Milano, transcribed and translated the pyramid texts. These documents contain many religious inscriptions carved on the walls of the pyramids around 2400 BC. According to Mali, the famous throne of Pharaoh Khufu or Cheops can be found in an underground room. Although the throne is believed to be made of iron, Mali points out that it is not molten iron, but meteoritic iron. That is, iron meteorites that fell from space and are mentioned in the text. Incredible as it may seem, there is evidence that the ancient Egyptians made beautiful and symbolic iron artifacts from meteorites that fell from the sky. The same dagger of Tutankhamun was made from meteorite iron, which was discovered in 2016. Modern scientists can easily recognize meteoric iron due to its high nickel content. Pyramid writings convinced Mali that evidence relating to the tombs of Egyptian kings suggested that a meteoric iron throne might be hidden within the great Great Pyramid. These writings state that the monarch must first pass through the gate to heaven to sit on his iron throne before he can pass to the next world through the stars of the north. Mali suggests that the Great Pyramid might have had 4 shafts, which could mark the entrances to the sky. Therefore, an iron throne must be fixed in the room. Since no one has been in the Great Pyramid's secret room for thousands of years, it's hard to know if the mathematician is right, but he makes a strong case for what might be hiding in the mysteriously hidden room, and it's possible he'll be right very soon. Who was the terracotta army waiting for? Such an archaeological find could bring any researcher to a seizure. An army of thousands of human-sized warriors, along with horses and thoroughly executed uniforms, is without a doubt the biggest find of the second half of the 20th century. The huge Chinese army was discovered by accident while drilling water off Mount Lishan in 1974. It seems that this amazing find was a harbinger that China is aiming to conquer the world with its scale and performance in the near future. Each soldier of the terracotta army has individual facial features. They also differ in the types of weapons, sword, crossbow, or spear, and even differ in rank. There are ordinary soldiers and there are officers. Their clothes, uniforms, details of costumes and armor are true works of art. Probably the statues of foot soldiers were created in different parts of the empire and then brought to the necropolis, unlike chariot riders which were made near the mountain in order to facilitate their transportation. The appointment of the army was ritual. Warriors of various ranks and skills were supposed to protect the emperor after death. Now the pavilion with the terracotta army makes an indelible impression on visitors. Thousands of distinct clay soldiers froze in anticipation of an invisible threat, calm and focused as if they were able to shake off a layer of dust and look into the eyes of the enemy at any moment. Codex Sinaiticus. The most ancient book made in the form familiar to the modern man is the Codex Sinaiticus, dated to the 4th century. The first part of the code was found in 1844 quite by accident by the German scientist Konstantin Tischendorf on the Sinai Peninsula in the monastery of St. Helena. The sheets lay in a pile of rubbish destined for destruction. Then the scientist found another 86 pages of the codex and took them to Europe, where he made them public. When Tischendorf came to the monastery again in search of a continuation of the codex, the monks did not even let him on the threshold. The situation was saved by Emperor Alexander II. He paid the monastery 9,000 rubles, after which Konstantin Tischendorf was able to find and bring new pages of the Codex to Russia. The Codex Sinaiticus contains part of the Old Testament, the full text of the New Testament, the Epistle of Barnabas, and the Shepherd of Hermes written in Greek. With the coming to power of the Bolsheviks in 1933, the Codex was sent to the British Museum. Amazing burial of a woman. Women's blouse, belt, and skirt discovered in the town of Borum Ishe, Jutland, Denmark. Well-preserved clothing was found on the skeletal remains of a 50-60-year-old woman. She was relatively short in stature, but with well-developed muscles, which indicates that during her lifetime, the woman worked hard. The clothes are well-preserved. The costume consists of various items: a skirt sewn from several separate pieces of fabric, a blouse, a hairnet, a cap, and 2 belts. The entire fabric is woven from wool and, despite the age of 3,500 years, is perfectly preserved. It is noteworthy that a lot of bronze jewelry was found in the burial, including 2 decorative plates or tutuli, a belt plate, bracelets, and a neck decoration in the form of rings, spiral rings on the fingers, and a hairpin. The grave also contained an earthen vessel, a wooden box, a bronze dagger, and a horn comb. Apparently, the lady decided to take to the grave, if not all her jewelry, then a solid part of them. Diamond Sutra. The Diamond Sutra is an almost 5-meter scroll printed using the xylography method, print of engravings. This book contains a text with the basics of Buddhism. The Diamond Sutra was found by archaeologist Mark Stein in China in 1900 and taken to the UK. The book indicates that it was printed on the 15th day of the 4th moon of the Shanton year, i.e. May 11th, 868. The Diamond Sutra is now in the British Library. All ancient books were made by hand with inlays of precious stones and were equated almost to works of art. Ancient rituals in a Spanish cave. There is in the south of Spain, in the province of Malaga, one unusual cave, well known to archaeologists thanks to the rock paintings, of which there are more than 1,000 on its walls. And not only Cro-Magnons left them. Some drawings in Cueva de Ardeals appeared before modern people began to use this cave, which means that they were painted by the former inhabitants of southern Europe, Neanderthals, who were also not alien to the sense of beauty. After 7 years of excavation in the cave, scientists realized that Cueva de Ardeals was not a dwelling. They did not find traces of a permanent human presence in it, like old bonfires as well as artifacts related to housekeeping. The age of the oldest layers in the cave coincides with the age of the oldest rock paintings, abstract figures consisting of dots, strokes with fingertips, and handprints, and is more than 58,000 years old. The last traces of the presence of Neanderthals date back 43,000 years ago. That is, ancient people more or less regularly visited the cave for at least 15,000 years. It is interesting that even without making direct contact, both Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon people used the cave for non-domestic tasks without equipping it as a permanent home. In all layers of the cave sediments, scientists have found fragments of ochre, a natural pigment that ancient people used for painting, and sometimes as a ritual material. Also, many decorations were found in the cave, drilled shells and animal teeth, and some teeth, for example those belonging to a beaver and a horse, could hardly have been there by chance. Finally, human remains fell into the last category of finds. In the early Neolithic, the dead were buried in Cueva de Ardeals. Probably Neanderthals and ancient Cro-Magnons used the cave mainly for ritual purposes, leaving drawings and decorations in it. A sacred place for 50,000 years, this cave was eventually forgotten by mankind, and only now is it beginning to truly reveal its secrets to us. And I'm trying to reveal the secrets of the ancient world on this channel, so subscribe to the channel and be sure to click on the bell to be the first to watch the next video. Leave your kind comments below the video. Thanks for views. Bye everyone.